Good morning. My name is Carolyn Box. I'm personal training specialist and owner of Outside the Box Fitness. I've brought you here today to meet Thomas Lane. He's owner of Edmonton Sport Massage, Thomas Lane. Today we're going to talk about an issue of mobility through the thoracic spine. We're going to address something called thoracic kyphosis. Before I do the introduction, I just want to talk a bit about what happens through the body when we move. The muscles, when we work them, they contract, and then other muscles stretch. So in order for the body to have good balance, we want to make sure that there's a balance of stretch and contraction going on through the body. Now the way the body's set up is there are points of stability and mobility down through what we call the kinetic chain. So we want to make sure that the parts that are supposed to be stable remain stable, and the parts that have the ability for mobility remain mobile. So I'm going to introduce you now, Thomas. This is Thomas Lane. You take over.
Hey Carolyn, how are you doing? Thanks for having me today. So thoracic kyphosis has varying degrees of problems. Technically, thoracic kyphosis is an increased flexion of the spine. So where we actually, exactly, as Carolyn's demonstrating, where you get hunching of shoulders forward, that can be one issue that's related to it. But we actually have an increased flexion of the thoracic spine itself, which gives us an array of problems, such as rolled shoulders forward. We end up being weak between our shoulder blades and our lower trapezius muscles. We over-recruit through the front of our neck. This can lead to jaw problems, all sorts of issues. So what we can do to help, so there's a few things that we can do here. I'll just quickly talk about how I would assess. I'd run you through an assessment, of course, find out kind of where you're at, the middle of the ear in relation to the middle of the shoulder socket, in relation to the middle of the hip, in relation to the middle of the ankle. So that I'm assessing you as soon as you walk in the door, just so I can see where you're at and how you're moving. From there, what we're going to be doing is treating you and opening tissue that's tight, that's in a chronically shortened position. And Carolyn's job as a personal trainer is to work and strengthen these areas of tissue where they're actually over-lengthened and weak. So things that we do to help mobility, if you want to come down onto the styrofoam roller, and then slide all the way down and clasp your fingers behind your head, Carolyn. And what we're trying to accomplish here is to open the spine into extension. Very gently, of course, and using the breath. So we'll just get you to clasp your hands right behind your head, support your neck, and just drop it into a nice neutral position. That's great. And open up as you go into extension, and just breathe through here. And then go ahead and contract your abdominal muscles and bring yourself back up into a little bit of extension, and then back down and open up again, and then back into flexion again. And what this does is it helps open structure, the vertebrae itself, and tissue ends up being more compliant. So this is one that we can do. We would do about 5 to 10 extension and then back to neutral per vertebrae, and we probably get about 4 or 5 segments of vertebrae here.
So this is great, Thomas, because anyone can go and pick up one of these little rollers at any fitness place. They're under $20, and this is a great exercise to do at home to increase mobility.
Yeah.
And also to, you should maybe talk about breathing as well.
Yeah, so when you go down into the extension phase of this mobility exercise, we're really working at, so actually just slide your upper body this way a bit more. That'll be a bit more effective through there. Yeah, you want to breathe as you open. That's the natural way that we can open our rib cage and our diaphragm. And then you can exhale as you come back up to your starting position. That's great. And you'd want to stabilize through your abdomen to support yourself. So from here, come on up, and we'll show you actually come on down onto this once more, Carolyn.
Oh.
And we'll put your spine right on this. So bring your bum right up onto that. And then take your hands into 90 degrees. And again, what we're doing here, this is a great TV commercial exercise, mobility exercise, just to open and basically open structure that's short because of kyphosis.
So what we're wanting to do with the anterior, the front of the body, is to stretch it open.
Exactly, yeah. So you can stay in this for several minutes if you want. If you're having any pain or discomfort, please get out of this. As well as if you're having any innervation issues, a numbness or tingling in your arms, we want to get out of this as well, because then we're stressing neurological tissue, which is not a good thing. So that's kind of mobility number 2. And then come on up to the table next. And what we're doing here, there's variations of this. You can clasp behind your head with your fingers, and then you can go into a little bit of a wider position with your elbows, or about shoulder width with your elbows as well. And we're stabilizing through the lumbar spine, and we're encouraging extension through the thoracic spine. And again, breath is really imperative here, and it should be your guide as to how far you push it.
So can we give a time frame, say in seconds, of how long, and maybe talk about the stretch response a bit?
Sure, I'd recommend about, you should feel, thank you Carolyn. We should feel a release of a stretch within 8 to 12 seconds. That's going to be your guideline, and if you're not feeling it within that period of time, you're pushing too hard. So you need to back off, breathe, reassess, and go from there. Yeah.
So a big point that we can take home from this is that we really need to, if we're working one side of the body in contraction, we really need to stretch what we call the antagonist muscles.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we should quickly run through that as well. When we're working, we want to be stretching one, we want to be contracting one side, stretching the other.
Yeah, so we're opening structure that's chronically tight and short from being kyphotic.
What would be some reasons why we would be that way?
Desk posture would be a great example of that. There can be emotional issues related to holding ourselves in the world in a certain way. Confidence issues, of course, play into that. But more the mechanical side is poor posture and weakness between your shoulder blades, which throw you into that forward flex position.
Okay. So that's great. Thank you so much for the information on stretch. What I'd really like to drive home while we finish off here is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So when you're doing your resistance training, you also have to equalize with the stretch. Often if you're doing a lot of activity, you just can't keep up to the stretch. I firsthand know because I'm one of your clients. I come for a deep tissue massage. So I would really encourage you to come get an assessment through Thomas Lane. He is an awesome massage therapist because he also adds in the assessment and the follow-up program to make sure that you're perfectly balanced in your programming. Thanks very much for talking with me today, Thomas.
Thanks, Carolyn.